Should we jazz hands?
Jazz hands.
Jazz.
Jazz hands. Jazz hands.
Oh, well, welcome everybody. So there really isn't a set thing we're doing today. We're just sitting here and we wanted to celebrate the launch of LoreForged and hang out with all of you and talk Ashes of Creation. And you guys can enjoy some video in the background while we're doing so.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah. So for any of you who are maybe you just discovering the stream, you're not sure what LoreForged is. Well, I can give you the rundown real quick. And so LoreForged.com, it's where all our content is. Basically, we're three friends that content create for Ashes of Creation. We have web articles, podcasts, live streams, as you see here in its raw form. And then YouTube videos and and community, all kinds of other things. So anyway, you can visit LoreForged.com for all of that. But we just launched on Friday. We launched with a lot of YouTube videos. We launched with 3 podcast episodes. So that's on iTunes, Spotify, anywhere there's a podcast. And then all kinds of web articles. And of course, the community is open. So we wanted to launch with a lot of content for you guys. So you can partake of whatever you like to partake of. So anyway, by the way, yeah, I'm Jibs. And we have Cash.
Hello, love.
And Sonny.
Hello. My legs aren't working correctly anymore today. So you only get to see me from here up.
Perfect.
I am in a lot of pain.
Awesome.
Yep. I'm
You
just
gonna tell
gonna
them
start
why?
things
You're just gonna
off.
leave it like
well, you know, I like to. There was a I saw this on Instagram the other day, and I laughed so hard. It was like. It was a quote and it said, "I don't think we're going to have any kids." And then below it in bullet points, it's like, leaves a lot of questions open, not very enticing. And then the next one is, "My line ends with me." It's like definitive statement. Leaves no questions. I feel like that with this whole running thing. So I've been training for a marathon, and this morning I ran 15 miles, and I am not designed to run 15 miles anymore.
How long is the marathon?
A marathon is 26.6 miles. And fun fact, the guy that first ran the marathon, fun fact, we love fun facts.
Oh, we got another subscriber. Caught up subscribe. Thank you so much. Appreciate you, friend.
So the first person to run the marathon I think he ran from Marathon to Athens, and then he ran back, and then he died. So little fun facts for you in history. If you're interested in maybe dying after a run, then you should look into marathons.
Really setting the precedent there, huh? With the we're just gonna be the first to do this and then die.
Yeah.
The ticker only has so many ticks, and the true question is, how many effing ticks do I have left? You just don't know. So when you run, now I'm not like disparaging running because I like physical activity too, but when you run, you speed up those ticks. Like they're moving quicker for a while. I don't know.
Then when you're not running and you come home and your heart rate is resting at like 30, you get very few ticks.
Yeah. But how many ticks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop? That is another question.
I guess the real question is, how many ticks does it take to find Sonny as a corpse on the side of an Iowa highway?
Well, based on the picture that you sent us,
it's about
you're
that
running
many
out of
ticks.
You're running, yeah. You looked like you were dying. Just mid-death.
I was dying. It's an accurate assessment.
Oh my God. Hey, Cheryl. Hey, Jace. How are you guys? Thanks for...
hey.
I think the fun thing about this little celebration that we're having here is, number one, it's like we're kicking the rust off of it. At least Jibs and I, because Sonny, you've been streaming for a while on this channel. We're kicking off the dust a little bit here, but in true Cash fashion, I hate doing shows, streams as such without any notes, and we have no notes. So this is completely off the cuff. So yeah, I think we should just talk some Ashes and answer some questions, hang out with the peeps, just have some conversation.
I like it. Well, let me pose this question. I'm just going to start it. So when you look at Ashes of Creation, what is the one thing, when you look at the game overall, like right now, its current state, what's the one thing that you are just like, I have to do that? I could do anything in the game. That's fine. I'm going to have a great time. I know I'm going to have a great time, but I have to make sure I get to do that thing.
Tavern.
Tavern?
Yeah. I think that the Freehold, when they had the Freehold expansion, not expansion. What's the word I'm looking for?
We launched 3 years ago, so
we launched first. We're expansion 1 DLC. You had to buy it. When they had the Freehold update and they really went into the Freeholds, I thought, man, that is going to be a hot commodity. And how are we going to do this? Because everyone is going to want to have a Freehold, and the things that you can have on your Freehold. This one keeps me up at night. The thought of how they're going to do that one, because it is very uncharacteristic of the modern MMO to have a carrot that not everyone can eat. If you know what I'm saying, it is not something that we see very often anymore. That it is a real thing that you will have to, I don't know if earn is the right word, but you'll have to take steps in order to get it, and not everyone will be able to take those steps. It'll either cost a lot of money or a lot of resources, and you really may have to consider pooling those things to even get it accomplished. So that one I'm very, very interested in, as far as just across the board, pick one thing that you think you really want to do. That to me is kind of my end game, is to be able to have a successful Freehold and feel comfortable that this is not a 1 month thing or a 1 week thing, that I'm able to consistently have that Freehold. It'd be cool to be the mayor, it'd be cool to run a node or run a city or something like that. But just to be able to always have a Freehold, I think would be a real thing that I would want to do.
I think Cheryl nailed it. Hi, Cheryl, by the way. I think she nailed it. First of all, she said, unfortunately, I can't answer that question yet because they haven't shown bards. Totally get that. Like, everybody wants to see their class revealed. I want to see a cleric type showcase for every single class, at least for every base class. I think would be freaking amazing if they were to do that over time. But she nails it. She says, I see it much more as a group thing versus solo as far as freeholds. And I agree with her 1,000%. I think guilds are going to be able to operate within the freehold. They're going to be able to use somebody's freehold for things that they need. So I think this presents an opportunity for some group cohesion and for working together with the people that you're playing with. And I love that about this game, that everybody can't have a freehold. I think they said something like 10% of the population will be able to get to that point to where they can get, actually attain a freehold. Tell me if that buzz comes back, because I just turned my fan back on. It's freaking super humid here today. So,
well, you do have an active fire next to you. Probably doesn't help things.
We actually have a hurricane. There has not been weather as we're supposed to get tomorrow since 1939 in Southern California.
We're hurricane in Southern California?
Yeah. So.
My God.
Yeah, yes.
My God.
See what happens. Yeah.
So now I feel like I can finally chime in. I have
decompress a little.
The ticket has been finished. I've submitted it for review. We're good. Okay. Export's done.
Ticket.
But anyway. So I think the one thing, and that's ask a question now. I know for sure I want to build a boat. Going on a boat.
That's my boat.
That's my
pirate
boat.
thing. The pirate thing.
Yeah. I want to check that out. Now, see, the intriguing thing to me was, because I always loved Sea of Thieves.
Mm-hmm.
The other side of that is I was equally scared to play Sea of Thieves because that constant, looking over your shoulder all the time. But and I know it'll be the same way once you're out in the open ocean in Ashes of Creation. No, you're looking around. Is that friend or foe? I'll tell you right now, if it's anything like Sea of Thieves, most are foe.
Yeah, because it's open. It is open PvP, no rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Edgewood with the follow. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hey, Edge, what's going on, man?
See ya.
Welcome.
But yeah, I think a couple of those things. Have you guys landed on a class? Is there really standing it yet?
Let's look at these for a second.
Okay.
Let's bring up that matrix here, because I was kind of curious about some of these names. So as I was running today, after listening to a bunch of the Lord of the Rings, I listened to one of our podcasts just for fun. And I was listening to me not know what pure classes were, which is embarrassing. But then the
math. The 50 is 56? And I'm like, math, bro.
It's 56. You have to take the 8 out in the diagonal.
8 times 8 most certainly equals a 64.
But the classes, like some of the names on these classes, and I was kind of curious if I gave you like a class, what you would think about it. So I'm gonna bring up the classes here for Ashes of Creation, and I'm gonna ping you with a couple, and I want you to give me a yay or nay and why on this. All right?
Oh gosh. Okay.
This would be a great Jeopardy episode, wouldn't
no
it?
kidding.
Do a Jeopardy episode where only one person has that chart.
Daily double.
Oh my God. Well, first of all, if I just gave you like Mage Cleric and asked you to tell me what the name of it was, we would go 0 for 64, right? We'd pretty much just have an entire podcast of you guys not knowing the answer to any of these things. But I'm curious, like, what you would think. So what I'm gonna give you the name of the. Don't cheat on me. Don't bring up the classes. I'm gonna give you the name of the class. Okay. I'm not gonna tell you what it is, and you're gonna tell me what kind of character this is, and then we'll see how close you are.
Well, so
okay.
Sounds hard.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start with an easy one. Okay.
Okay. Who you going to first? Are we doing like round robin here? Like what's?
Well, I'll tell you.
Okay.
So
all right.
Okay.
All right.
JB, you're first.
All right.
Arch Wizard.
Oh, mage.
Okay. How does that play?
Like a mage.
Yep. Would you like to elaborate? You are a professional podcaster. You are a professional podcaster. I would like a little bit more out of you.
All right, yeah. So mage, I'll be honest. When I look at the mage, it's everything that you dream out of if you've ever played, a wizard, or a priest, or a mage, or so mage, not priest, in like World of Warcraft, which we're playing right now. Cash and I specifically are playing right now, and it is your quote unquote your wizard Harry. You're slinging spells. You're throwing out the what are the name of those curses? Harry Potter.
The Unforgivables?
Yeah.
Trips?
Yep.
Damn it.
The Unforgivables. Yeah, you got those. Well, I guess that's more warlocky, huh? Anyway, point being is that you're a spell slinging caster. Yeah.
Do you think fire, ice, arcane, the fire, ice, arcane is obviously World of Warcraft, but do you have a flavor that you think an arch wizard would have?
I think going off of what the video was showcasing, I believe it's elemental, like different elements. So ice, it's about I remember Earth.
Just ice. Come on, Captain Planet this.
Fire.
I can't wait for
Such a
Heart.
good show.
Heart.
Yeah. Whoever drew that straw, they got the short one.
All right, Cash, you ready?
Nope.
We're gonna make it a little more difficult for you.
Alrighty.
Bow singer.
A bow singer is a ranger bard.
That is absolutely correct. You got it. Now, just to, first of all, I'm going to give you all the credit in the world here because I did not even introduce the primary classes. Now, we all have heard of them, but just to get them fresh in your mind, you have Bard, Cleric, Fighter, Mage, Ranger, Rogue, Summoner, and Tank. Tank. Everyone's favorite, Tank. So
I swear, I did not cheat.
now
That one kind of seems like it would be.
You
that.
said Ranger Bard, right?
Ranger Bard, yeah. Am I right?
Ranger Bard is dead nuts on.
Yeah.
How does a bow singer? How does a bow singer play? What does a bow singer look like?
A bow singer looks like Elton John. A lot of flair. There. You guys were all afraid about what I was going to say just because I'm me.
I do like the idea of the Elton John Ranger out there. just with the wings coming off, like bumping into trees. He's like,
He's making noise coming through the trees.
Just smashing his way through the forest.
Elton, you're out here too? I'm gathering.
Yes.
5-inch platform shoes with like fish inside of them.
Wrote a song about it. Want to hear it? Here we go. Oh man, that was a fun one. That was a fun one. We can do this.
Okay, are you ready, JB?
No, I'm really not. But
yeah,
yes.
I don't know how you're gonna follow that one. Okay. Let's see. High sword.
High
sword.
Oh, you
High
can
sword.
do this.
Remember,
You can do this.
Bard, Cleric, Fighter, Mage, Ranger, Rogue, Summoner, Tank. High sword.
I feel like it's a knight who's enjoying pipe weed from Lord of the Rings.
I'm right along those lines with you.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. Well, I wasn't. Oh, De La Luna's here. Hey, good to see you.
High sword.
Okay, hang on. Cleric fighter.
Very, very close. It's actually Fighter Cleric. So I'm gonna that was real close.
Alex, you got to give him that one.
Yeah.
No, I don't,
Alex.
because remember the primary class, because the Cleric Fighter is different, right?
It's because you didn't say what is.
I'm slashing
That's
your tires,
why.
Alex, when we leave the
High
studio.
sword. So the high sword is a Fighter primary, Cleric second. How? I mean, in my mind, it's Paladin, right?
We'll see. I thought of that. I was thinking.
No, that would be a fighter priest.
Think so? But it's a cleric. There is no priest. Cleric is priest.
Cleric. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Right?
Yeah. So wouldn't it be a cleric fighter? Would be a paladin?
So I'll just give you that one. Cleric fighter is Templar. Okay.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
But fighter cleric is high sword.
Cheryl says Holy Knight. What was that?
Yeah, that's what I mean. This thing just
Nice.
screams classic paladin to me.
Hmm.
High sword. Because you're a
called.
fighter primarily and then a cleric secondarily.
Yeah.
Would you ever roll that?
No.
Mm.
I mean, I play Paladin, but I don't know about that one.
Yeah, I would not. I mean, I would not. I don't think so. I have very certain archetypes that I have to have, because just like probably a lot of people, I RP this stuff in my mind, you know. And then when I get up from my chair to go make a sandwich, I run through the house, RPing stuff. Like if I'm playing a rogue, then I'm sneaking around, making sure that my girls aren't watching me or trying to steal something from me. Pickpocket my wife.
Yeah, like a rogue.
Rolls a wand, falls on his face.
I gotta be honest with you. As long as I've known you guys, I don't think I've ever known you to play paladins. And there's been paladins in almost every game we've played.
Jibs has.
Very
Really?
good, very big into Paladin. Yeah. So World of Warcraft Shadowlands, that was my main. For the entirety, pretty much the entirety of the expansion was a rep Paladin.
You wrecked too.
That was fun. Thank
You
you. Yeah, that was a
wrecked.
good time.
Oh, I remember you playing a rat pally.
Yeah.
I remember that because it was just huge damage.
Yeah, it was stupid broken. And if it wasn't broken, and I fought against it for a long time, and then eventually I'm like, forget it. It's the flavor. I'll play it. I distinctly
plays
remember
like.
we were playing Arathi Basin, and it was Lumbermill. This is how overtuned it was. It was myself, and a community member, Garar, who was also on a Ret Paladin, and it was 2 versus 8. And we're like, okay, let's go. And we just started running into them, and they were running away.
I remember specifically watching people run away from both of you. Like, not doing it.
Yeah.
Not got that.
Not
Two pallies with massive hammers just smashing.
That's so much fun. So much fun. You know, you'll be surprised to learn, Sonny, my new adventure in World of Warcraft is actually a rogue.
Really?
I know.
Yeah, we both rolled rogues. Literally, we both rolled brand new rogues yesterday, and it was pretty hard to stop playing to do this show. Just so you know.
My God. I thought you loaded up Lord of the Rings Online.
I did, but Lord of the Rings Online looks like a giant bowl of Minecraft voxels. So I'm sorry. You guys know this. I like
Why did I load up Lord of the Rings Online?
I don't know. I'll be honest. I was surprised you actually followed suit, because that's not like you to be such a follower.
Dude, like I'm not gonna lie to you. I was so bummed about it because I was really excited. I just bought that like original version of The Hobbit, and I bought the entire series of Lord of the Rings in one book. And I started reading it along with listening to the Andy Serkis thing on Audible. And I'm still going to do it because I was having a blast, but I was so excited to dive into Middle-earth lore and play the game at the same time. And then I started playing the game and I was like, this looks like shit. Like flat out. Everything else about that game is fantastic. There's a lot of depth. There's plenty of things to do. The classes are fantastic. But a giant bucket of mashed up buttholes is what that game looks like.
Why is it that visual?
Yeah, that was a little unnecessary at the end there.
That's okay. We're in the trust tree with the nest with
no one's watching.
We're in the trust circle here.
Yeah, dude.
Sonny, I'm going to ask you one. Because I don't want to be on the receiving end.
Well, I got the chart in front of me.
Scroll.
Look away from it.
Scroll, you
Okay,
cheater.
I'm not gonna look at the chart. I'm not looking at it right now. I'm not looking at it.
Oh my God.
Go ahead.
All right.
I've got it down. It's minimized.
Scion.
Scion?
Yeah.
Oh, we're going reverse here.
Yeah, we are.
Oh, okay. So a Scion? I feel like there's like a summoner in there.
His face looks like Gollum when he's trying to solve the riddle in The Hobbit.
What's in it?
I can't do a good Gollum. Scion. The word, I don't know, like, Okay, so like, I feel like summoner is in there somewhere.
Way
Nope.
off, Samsonite.
Okay. Fighter?
Nope.
God.
Nope.
Dude, you're
I'm close.
You are brutal.
Cleric. There's gonna be a cleric in there, right?
Nope.
Jesus.
Dude, I'll tell you what. Here's a phone a friend. Here's your phone a friend. You can look up what a scion is.
Okay,
I'm
gonna
gonna
Google Scion
Google
here.
Scion.
Yeah,
Okay.
I like it.
Okay.
I kind of want to know too.
Ranger Rogue? Nope.
Okay. A descendant of a wealthy, aristocratic, or influential family.
Definitely.
So definitely high elf something.
Yeah, high elf. Okay, so I feel like a mage is in there.
Okay.
then.
Okay. There's
you're-
one. There's one.
If you're in chat and you know it, shout it out. He won't look at chat, I swear.
A mage. Okay, so a mage is very aristocratic. Mage bard.
Nope. You're close.
Okay.
You're close. You want a letter?
Mage. Yes.
R.
It can't be mage rogue because I was gonna play a mage rogue, right?
It's not a mage rogue.
It's not a mage rogue because that's like a spell.
It's a shadow something, I think. Major.
Yeah, one of them is like a
Shadow spell.
something, and the other one is a shadow something.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not mage rogue. Mage tank.
Nope. There's
Okay.
no R in tank.
I'm running out of things. Is it Wataru says Mage Ranger?
It is Ranger Mage. Yep.
Ranger Mage.
Yeah.
What Aro coming out with the win.
Wow.
Good job. Good job.
Ranger
That's
Mage.
pretty cool.
Okay, let's think about this.
Yeah.
Ranger Mage would be pretty cool actually, because
Yep.
you're primarily, bow and everything in the woods, but you can also maybe modify your arrows with like magic, and
Or maybe your arrows are magic because you're a mage.
Ooh, magic
into the-
arrows.
There you
You're
go.
tapping into the essence. You have a magic bow.
Oh, Ranger Mage.
I'm not developing this game.
Ooh,
Actually, it's
what
what it
a
is.
weird
It's augments.
combo that is. That's like really like yin and yang, right? Because the mage is all essence, and the rangers are usually the exact opposite of that. They're just like right out of the woods and the connection with nature and everything like that. And so, oh man, that's pretty nuts.
Yeah, arcane
that's
arrows.
wild. I don't know about that one.
And so like this is what I was talking about when I made mention of this in one of our shows, is that imagine the balance where you have all of these different main archetype classes. And say you went Ranger, your skills are going to be one thing, just like the Cleric that we just saw. All the skills are one thing, but the second you go Cleric Ranger, all of your skills change. So when you have 64 classes, right, with, I don't know, 18, 20 skills, all of those skills for each one of those hybrid archetypes have to be different. You see what I'm saying? Everybody's bar is going to look different, is it not?
No, not necessarily. So the way that it's going to go is, and we're going to see a lot of this in the Alpha 2, because the Alpha 2 is designed to really showcase those 8 classes. And so you're going to get those 8 classes, and then at like level 25 or whatever that later point is, you're going to supplement all of those primary classes with the secondary class. Okay.
Okay, that makes a little bit more sense then. So I'm not thinking there's going to be balance on like 18,000 different skills.
No, there's going to be balance between 8 things and supplementary balance on 64 things, right? So those 8 classes are going to be your big classes, but then augmenting those classes is where you're going to get a lot of flavor. So let's say you're a fighter, okay? You're gonna go from 0 to 25 or whatever as just a fighter. You're gonna be fighting Cash and the fightettes, and then you're gonna decide what you want at 25. It's like, you know what? I'd really like to have some healing, or I'd really like to up my ranged game, or I'd really like to add some magic into my sword, or things like that. And so you're gonna pick these other things, and then you're going to supplement those in there. I'd really like to have a little bit more stealth and maybe sneak around a little bit and be a little more subtle, but still be a fighter. And so you'll add rogue in underneath. JB?
What do you guys think about this, the augment system, versus what we're so traditionally used to seeing, which is mostly set classes? And every DLC, every few, for instance, Warcraft just came out with the previously it would have been 2014-ish, 16-ish with Demon Hunter. So the point being is, what do you guys think about the class combination, the augments?
I think it adds the opportunity for you to truly stick with one archetype as a class and have umpteen ways to customize that class. And if you don't like the way that things have been working for a certain patch, or you'll have the ability to change for situational content. So say you're out soloing, you may have certain augments slotted, but then that evening your guild is getting together and you're going to take down Tumok, or you're going to do certain dungeon content. Then you can change your augments to supplement your group. So, and at the same time, you don't have to change your class, because how many times in other games have we been like, oh, just let me help on my healer? Well, no, I've been soloing. It's like having a dual spec or the ability to have different specs. You know, I've been soloing on my Healy cleric, or I've been soloing on a cleric that has damage potential, a lot more damage potential, so I can solo. But tonight,
Cleric fighter.
I'm the main healer. You know what I mean? So I can switch out some of those augments and skills so that you can main heal for your group. So I like it. It'll keep people on the same class.
Are you just guessing that you can switch out those augments on the fly? Like your secondary, you're talking about your secondary class, right?
I think it's a process.
I kind of feel like you might not be able to.
I'm not sure what the kind of thing.
I think it'd be more akin to like,
well, let's look at
if they opened something like this up, it'd be like changing your build, like Cheryl said in Warcraft, where you could have, like in Warcraft, you had those trees, right? Where you were a rogue and you could pick between assassination or subtlety or whatever the other one was, right? Like poison guy. And it was like it was a bit of a process to switch that. I think it's certainly possible that you could go with changing a secondary class. You definitely would not be able to change your primary class. I just can't see that being a thing. No. If you start as a fighter, you're going to end as a fighter. But I could see maybe being able to modify your secondary class. I could also see if they said no. You know, you pick your secondary class and that's what you live with. You can change some abilities inside of it. But you might not be able to ever get away from being a fighter cleric because there is a name for that, right?
Right.
What it is, but
so augments, as per the God of Hope Stephen Sharif says, augments can affect a multitude of things. It can drastically change the ability itself. It can change the damage type. It can change the cooldown period. It can change damage values. It can change the distance. It can dramatically change it from a ranged effect to a melee effect. Augments are essentially they are creating entirely new skills, but they're going to keep obviously some identity with what the primary active ability was. So still, we probably don't have an answer if you can change these things on the fly or not.
There was
actually, I do have an answer for it. I just found it. So basically the secondary archetype of a class may be changed, but not on the fly, which is more like saying you can do it, but you can't do it in the middle of a fight.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't expect it. Maybe
I wouldn't either. But they basically said that you can go to an NPC in a village node or something like that and basically change your secondary archetype and skill augments through a quest system or something, and there'll probably be a cooldown period. So they will allow you to change that. Your primary, again, is your primary, but you can change that secondary thing. You just can't do it a lot.
I love that.
They're going to make you think about it.
Yeah.
I love
Which is great, right? Like if you add in rogue and you're like, this is ruining my fighter. I don't want this. And like, okay, let's give something else a run.
Yeah.
I like it.
I like that it's just not handed to you. On the fly, you can just switch it out. For instance, recently we were playing Warcraft and they don't even make you go train for your mounts anymore. They just give it to you. And it was weird because I had to do a double take and make sure, like, wait, I have my training? They gave it to me. I'm Rod Burgundy.
You don't have to go visit the guy with the horses anymore?
No, it just gives it to you. And I just...
What's that guy do now? He just hangs out outside Stirling with his horses?
Animated paperweight.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Just weird. Like, why would you? I don't. And it's kind of, I guess, weird to even bring up.
Nothing else going on.
I know. It's just, like there's a certain element to MMOs that's also satisfying and rewarding to go and get that feeling of, I'm this level now. I can pick my augments in Ashes of Creation. I can go do ABC or whatever. I can go train for my mounts. It's just it's just the little things, and I feel like MMOs, whenever you start taking a bunch of the little things that make the MMOs unique out of the game, just what are we doing?
I agree with that, right? Like you're taking the RPG out of the game and now it's just a quest generator or a war zone generator or something, and you've lost what an RPG is. You know, when you don't have that thing, when you don't have to take your character to a tavern, if there's no need for the taverns, then you know you're playing Call of Duty war zones, right? You're just taking a medieval character and putting him in this thing. I don't love stuff like that. But having said that, there is a way to have that stuff in a game and not have it feel like a burden. You have to make it a part of the experience. And I think that that's the real brass ring for gaming, is how do I design a game where the people want to go to the tavern, where the people want to hang out with each other, where the people want to role play these things. They want to go to the guy with the horses and meet the horse guy and then get their horse and things like that. If 99% of your players are like, it's a pain in the ass to go to the horse guy and get my horse training, all I want is the mount, then you're doing it wrong, right? Then getting rid of the horse guy is probably the right call. But the better question is, why does nobody want to do this? Like, what can we do to make this more of a role play experience?
Yeah.
And if you have a community of people who remember the way that it used to be in games, and that becomes your core people, they will start to realize that this is a living, breathing world and not everything is given to you. Some things are going to you're going to have to take the extra mile. Like I remember there was a game where in order to, Warcraft used to be the same way, but you used to have to go to trainers to train your skills. And now everything it's just automatic. Like you ding the level and now you have the extra skills. But there was a game and I can't remember, was it Shadowbane? You actually like had to travel to different trainers for different skills. You had to go there and it might be perilous getting there. Those are the things that I miss. That's
kind of cool.
It's awesome. Like there's, oh, hey, I can teach you this, but hey, if you want to learn this skill, like you're going to have to travel to, King Schnibbelschnob, the ranger over in this area. This is the guy that's going to teach you that. And I do miss that, where you're getting out in the world and you're moving from point A to point B in order to advance your class. And like in things like Warcraft, which, we could talk Warcraft all day, but it's still a great game, but they have removed those really cool little nuances of the game just for the sake of convenience. And it's kind of sucks.
I think De La Luna hits the nail on the head here. No effort, no reward. When you're not able to even put the effort in to a system in the game, when you get it, it doesn't feel rewarding at all. It's just, oh, okay. I'll just back to picking berries and chopping down trees.
Yeah. Cheryl brings up an interesting point though, right? Like she says, as long as there's balance, if you only have X amount of time to play in a session, do you want to spend the whole time just getting to the trainer just to train up a skill? Now,
that's a good point.
I feel like the pendulum swung the other way on that one, right? With Warcraft, that they asked people, do you want to go to the trainer? And they said no, right? And so they said, okay. And they got rid of it. And all of those little things, you keep knocking out the little things that are RPG elements of your game because people want to have a more efficient experience where they get in and they're immediately doing the thing and then they get out. That as you chip away at that, if you don't have that middle ground, if you don't have that sense of balance, that suddenly your game is devoid of all of that stuff. And it is no longer an MMORPG, it's just an MMO. You've lost the RPG element. There's no role playing anymore to it. And that's hard, right? It's hard when your player base gets impatient. It's hard when you're a publicly traded company and you're looking at the bottom line of your stock price and your expense sheet and stuff, and you're trying to get people in your game at any cost. Those are difficult
that's where it is.
decisions.
I think that's what it is right there, is that you want to make the game accessible for everybody, not just the very small portion of your player base that want more of that hardcore aspect.
Yeah.
No,
There's a difference between catering a game to 1% and making a game that is not for 99%, right?
Yeah.
For me, I am looking forward to part of my night of gameplay is going to be things like getting my goods from point A to point B. That could be your whole night of gameplay, just moving your goods in a caravan from point A to point B. Where in some games it's like you hire an NPC and off they go. You know?
Yeah.
Sorry, Jibs, I interrupted you.
No, you're fine. I think I would love to be able to do both there. I'd love to be able to, whether I pay somebody else to move my goods that night, I request insurance on the goods that are being sent out. If anything happens, I know my goods are okay. Or whether it's myself, a group of other people who are with me who have goods that need to go as well, and that's our whole night of gameplay. I think I like both of those options. Honestly, either way, like, when it comes to care, like for instance, caravans, like if that's all you do all night, like that's where the stories come from.
Yeah, for sure.
That's where there is I'm hearing a lot of when you move the RPG elements in the conversation, and it's totally true, because if I had more time, I tell you right now, if LoreForged was never a thing, if we were never doing shows or anything, and I was literally doing nothing but clocking into work, clocking out to work, family, and Warcraft, I'd probably be playing Classic and or Wrath of the Lich King Classic. Reason being is there is a certain element of RPG in the older version that you don't see anymore, and when you there's just a connection that's really lost there, and then on top of that, you lose all the stories. You lose all the interesting and cool stories for the most part, aside from like social interactions. Hey, get to chatting about their trans. Like, it just comes back to when you make everything so accessible and so easy, it's just, and there is a fine line. There's a balance. We're working adults, or, we have families, we have jobs, mortgages, car payments, all the things, right? And so we can't do the things we did in 2004. But the same notion, it's like there's just this fine line where the moment you start taking out all that RPG stuff, it just kind of starts to turn the MMO feeling, the RPG side of the MMO, very hollow. Just not a lot of connection there. That makes sense. I feel like I'm rambling, but
Are you saying that you want a mortgage and a car payment in Ashes of Creation? Because I'm out.
Well, you get that in the form of a freehold.
All I was thinking was like how much better I'd be at this marathon in 2005.
yeah, no kidding. Oh man.
I think when you're describing that, I think about like taking the saturation out of a picture, right?
Yeah.
Like you just keep pulling the saturation out in order to get a more streamlined thing, and then suddenly at the end of it, you're looking at this picture and there's just nothing there. It's just this bland sort of experience. And when I think of stories from gaming experiences with MMOs, it's almost never related to a war zone, or it's almost never related to like something that you just jump into the content and then leave. It's usually related to weird things like a caravan trip, or like, us trying to work together on some sort of raid experience or something like that, or just the weird random things that happen, and you end up having this whole night where you end up God knows where. For example, think about like when we were playing Guild Wars 2 and you two ended up in the dark behind the pirate ship and the whole thing. Like that is a classic experience for you guys. That was something that you will remember. You could remember it and tell that story right now if you wanted to. I am sure of it.
Yeah.
And that had somebody had to build that in there, and then you guys had to take time out to experience this thing slowly and organically. You didn't sign up for it. You didn't check a box saying like, do you want to go to the weird darkness finder and then go in there and get dumped into this instance. Like that was something that existed in the world, and you had to go out and find it.
Or find it by accident, which is exactly
you weren't even looking for it, right?
Yeah.
So those are the kind of things, and that's pure RPG, right? You guys were in it. And that is the kind of stuff that I never want to see go away from this genre. And I think that new games that come out have a better chance of having that in there as opposed to existing games that are trying to maintain a player base. And I also think that games that have been funded in different ways have better chances. I think that this game has a much better chance of incorporating some of those things simply because of the financial way in which it was funded and the way that they're going to try to develop it, as opposed to Activision Blizzard, which is ultimately beholden to shareholders. That's how that works. Legally and financially, they need to maintain people in this game, and so they will make decisions that are sometimes not in the best interest of all of the gamers, but in the best interest of maintaining a financial bottom line. So that's just, nobody wants that. And that's certainly not what we want. But I feel like in this game development, there's a real chance that we get some of those cool RPG decisions, some of those cool moments where they're like, you know what, we're not getting rid of that. We are going to make you go to this town to talk to the ancient master if you want to get this skill.
Yeah.
They talked about in the chat, they talked about the druid, getting the druid flight form was like a thing.
Yeah.
Definitely was a thing. The warlock's mount. Back in the day, you had to do a quest line to get your warlock's mount. I specifically remember the druid thing because I did that, quite a few times on different druids on different servers, because that was my class for a long, long time. I loved that. I love that it was exclusive. I love things that are exclusive to the class. I love the fact that you're gonna have to work, like the freehold. You're gonna have to work to get a freehold. Your flying mounts are going to be available, but they're gonna be incredibly rare, and they're gonna be time limited. Like it's those little things that are being built into this game. Things like the seasonal changes. The seasonal changes, the changing of the seasons are going to change the content, some of the content that you can play. In the wintertime, there might be a mountain pass blocked.
Super cool. I love that.
Yeah. And then in the springtime, once that snow melt happens, now that pass is open. Now that content is open. The rogues specifically may be able to find hidden doors in a lot of these dungeons that other people aren't going to be able to find. How freaking cool is that?
That's
cool.
so Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Super Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. I love that stuff.
Tabletop RPGs are written all over this game. All over this game. From the depth. I mean, you talk, finding, or what was it? We saw it in the Cleric. You guys saw the video when we were getting ready to launch LoreForged. We were watching that thing, talking to Sonny. You were live on stream at the time, looking at
Rob, you were there.
Rob? I mean, like, it just screams tabletop RPG. And I'm so glad. I guess some of the abilities, I forget what YouTuber. I forget what YouTuber it was, but they were talking about some of the abilities. Actually, it was Joey Chaos over at Tangents of Creation.
Jamie Chaos.
Jamie Chaos. I'm sorry. What did I say? Oh, I said
Bobby
Joey.
Chaos.
I'm sorry. There was a Joey Chaos that followed us on
Chrissy
the
Chaos.
But anyway, yeah, they were talking about it, and I guess some of the abilities names are also named. The cleric abilities specifically are also in D&D, and so it's just cool.
Yeah, mend, bless.
Yeah, there you go.
Like,
yep.
Remember bless, where you dip your weapon in Pepto-Bismol?
I love that.
I cure your tummy ache. Right there. I cure your tummy ache.
Imagine this game comes out, and because of the way it was funded, where it was open development and privately funded and slow growth in the studio, but like a healthy slow growth from a standpoint of they're getting those, I think they said 2,000 applicants roughly a month, and they take maybe 7, if that.
Sounds like trying to get a fire department job.
Let's say, no kidding. So let's just say, not that I know, you guys would know, but I wouldn't.
Ugh.
But let's just say theoretically it comes out swinging, hits all the points. Let's just say it has launch issues like servers, because what MMO has launched and never had server issues? So
New World. wait.
So just imagine. I think that would be one heck of a story to see a game come out that was privately funded, that has a lot of tabletop RPG. Solus in chat, good to see you.
Our
bud.
guild leader
Oh,
from
it's
New
our
World.
guild leader, yeah.
Rat.
He said the NW word.
I know, dude. I know.
How cool would it be? What kind of story would that, what kind of story could that give people to be told? And as far as development for probably the toughest genre in gaming being built, the most expensive, we know that.
Definitely the most expensive. Go ahead, Sonny.
No, I mean, I don't know. I have such a hard time, like, even hoping for clean launches with MMOs. I feel like it's not indicative of how the game will perform. I think that is the hardest thing in gaming, I would say. If you are a game developer, and I'm not a game developer, but I gotta think that one of the hardest things to do is to accurately predict a launch, even of your own game. This genre is rife with examples of that going badly for games that turned out just fine, and going well for games that did not turn out fine. New World was way more popular at launch than they were expecting. Way more popular.
Right.
And it completely blew them up. Okay? Now, it turns out that New World didn't have down the road the things that gamers were looking for, and the game didn't last. That had almost nothing to do with their launch. Their launch was a game for people to come in and play, and nobody could play it simply because they inaccurately predicted how popular it was going to be. And it just blew the whole thing up.
Yeah.
So it didn't have anything to do with whether or not there was end-game content. It didn't have anything to do whether or not there was no balance within classes, or, like, you know, nodes, or whatever the New World system of little provinces was going to be, you know, not working by the end of the thing because people would just take over whole areas. That had nothing to do with it. The only thing it had to do with was that they were just unable to predict how popular it was going to be at launch, and it just blew their whole system up. And so then they were scrambling from day one on that thing to try to get those servers to work correctly.
I think one of the most disappointing things about New World, visually stunning, audibly, we talk about it all the time. We've talked about it in the first 3 episodes. Set a precedent. They added anything to the genre, it was the audio. How many times did we hear our community people discuss that? And so I think the most unfortunate thing about New World is it seems like it had a direction. We're on this direction. That direction was PvP for that game. I'll be honest with you, I hadn't really heard much about this game at all until all of a sudden, hey, this is getting ready to launch. Blah, blah, blah. We're going to be adding PvP into it now. It just felt like they were on this road with PvP, and then somewhere near the end of development, late in development, we're going to add this PvE element. And it was there, but it left a lot on the table. And had that game, the unfortunate part is, had that game either had PvE development way early on and came out a much more fleshed out product versus what we got, I think you probably would have seen a lot more people hang out in that game, stay around.
If they were to re-release it right now, I think it would see a lot more success than it did at launch. And the problem with games like this, and this is a problem, like, I think too, with the trend of these development companies doing this early release thing, is you get people that just burn out on the game. So when you have, there's no more patience anymore for, and you know, we're guilty of it too, but there's no more patience anymore for giving an MMO a good solid year or two to come into its own. And sometimes it takes that to be able to have the amount of content that gamers want to see at launch, because there's inevitably going to be that core group of gamers that completely neckbeards in MMO launch. And it's just like a sprint to the end, and they're sprinting to the end, they're sprinting to the end, they get to the end, and then they're looking around going, where the F is everything? You know what I mean? But when you have a game like let's think of some games that have a crap ton of content now. I mean, look at games like Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2, World of Warcraft, definitely Final Fantasy 14, Elder Scrolls, like giving these games some time to bake, to slow cook. That's what allows for longevity of games. But the reality is no game, no MMO can launch with that amount of content to hold people for 1 to 2 to 3 years. At launch, we're just not going to have that amount of content. And it sucks. It sucks for the genre, but what we're hoping to see here, and like we're pretty damn committed to just riding this thing out, see where it lands. And I'm really hoping for a good amount of content and the ability as a sandbox with Ashes of Creation to make our own memories, not necessarily surrounding this theme park of a game where you definitely have to go here and you got to try that and you definitely have to go here and try that. Well, we've already done that. We've been through that content. Okay, fine. Go out, make your own content. Go siege a freaking keep. Those are the, go have open world PvP. Those are the kind of things that I want. Go hunt down other guilds. That is where the fun is going to be, and that's where the lifelong memories are made, in my opinion.
Yeah, the theme park, or as they call it in Ashes of Creation, the theme box, which is the combination theme park and sandbox. That really is a good point, because we've already said, and I think we're all in agreement, that MMOs are some of the most expensive games to make. Flat agreement, right? They're incredibly expensive. And so if they're very expensive to make, that means they're very expensive to maintain. And so you have this game that comes out and you have an enormous amount of overhead to keep this thing going and keep it, releasing with stuff. If you're a theme park type of game, then you need to continue to provide new rides for all of the gamers.
Right.
And you're just on a hamster wheel the entire time you're going, and it can be incredibly difficult. So I think for any game that's coming out, you have to have elements of sandbox in order to allow people to stay in there. Because the other thing I agree with you that what you said is that the games that are allowed to bake for a while, the games that are allowed to simmer in their own little gaming juices are the ones that end up being a lot of fun down the road. Guild Wars 2 is a hell of a fun game.
Yeah.
But it's had 10 years to cook. Elder Scrolls Online has got a lot of stuff. World of Warcraft has got years and years and years of development where it's able to cook inside of that thing. And it's one of those things where you have to make it past that initial stage. You have to avoid being WildStar, this great game that just didn't last, right? Because they didn't have the cash to keep going through that period to allow people to find their own way to stay in it. And so, yeah, we can say, we're going to stay in it for the long haul. But if it's a theme park game and we've ridden that ride 100 times, we're not going to want to ride it anymore. We have to be able to make our own memories inside the game. And I think that at least Ashes understands that.
That was amazing. That was something we got to experience in Elder Scrolls Online, to where we had some of our favorite quests, and then, we'd have a dev on or something on the show, and we would literally ask, like, hey, did you write that quest? And they're like, yeah, that was mine. And you're like, oh my God, that was the coolest freaking quest ever. And I love this part about it or that part. And I would hate to be like, hey, did you guys write that quest? No, that was AI. Okay. Well, who do I think?
You send a PayPal to Siberia or wherever they made that program.
Yeah, exactly. Thank ChatGPT for writing that quest.
Yeah. Okay.
There is, I mean, it's fun. It's fun to toy with it, and it's fun to do stuff. I've been writing a lot of articles on the website, although admittedly I haven't written one in a little bit. But there's something about being able to write that thing with your own brain and your own level of creativity that AI is still, I think, not captured entirely. So I'm working on a storyline for fun that might be released on the website. We'll see. And it's largely, I didn't even realize it, but it's largely the brainchild of conversations that we've had right here on the show. And some of that stuff has to happen so organically, just inside my brain, that I don't know how AI would do that. It can certainly help us out with a lot of the little tasks, like, hey, summarize our show so you can put it in notes for the bottom of this video. Easy peasy, right? That's perfect for that kind of stuff. At the fire department, they're using it now to compile the annual fire reports.
Oh, wow.
That's a big thing because the annual fire report is a huge pain in the ass. Massive. The brass complain about it for months on end, and then when they're done with it, they complain about it for a few more months afterwards. Well, if you're using AI to take all this data and synthesize it and then spit out a report, even though that report is like 50 pages, that's a pretty good use of AI, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's not relying on that sort of creativity. The scary good thing with the creativity part is the art. The art that we're generating with AI for the videos that Cash is doing is just staggering.
It's insane.
It's so good. That that's a little bit scary to me, just how good that stuff is. You know, I don't know. So I have mixed feelings on the use of AI, but I cannot deny its usefulness.
Yeah, they have some tricks out there. I was actually watching a YouTube video on voice AI to be able that they're building within a lot of these game development engines in order to eliminate, I hate to say eliminate, but that's kind of what they would be doing, but to eliminate the need for voice actors.
Yep.
Which sucks for voice actors because it's not perfected yet. It's not like it's not a thing. You still listen to it and you're kind of like, oh, that was kind of wonky the way that came out. But nothing will ever be able to replace a human voice and emotion and stuff like that. But they sure as hell are giving it a college try on making that happen.
It's interesting you bring that up. I was talking with my students the other day. For those watching, I teach audio engineering, and they were talking about AI and mixing music. And you're starting to see kind of this growth or development of AI mixing your music for you. And they're like, is that'll ever get replaced? And I had to sit there and think for a minute, but I eventually arrived at the answer. I don't think that. So there are some, kind of going off what Sonny said and a little bit of what Cash you said, like there's some very good uses for AI that really help eliminate a lot of the just busy work, right? But there's things that in this world I don't think you're going to be able to easily replace. One of those being mixing music. Whenever you mix a track, whenever you do, it could be say like a hip hop album. That's some of the things they work on. It is your staple of who you are is how you've set your faders, how you've EQ'd their vocals, how you've set up reverb for this track or played with panning. Like there are just certain things, certain elements that make up you that it's just not going to be replaceable. And I'm kind of glad that we're not at that point yet in gaming where maybe things are starting to be built for that. I don't know. But when it comes to game development, that it's not like widely used, like I don't even know if it's used at all. I don't even know if it's a thing in game development. But
That'd be a good question for Intrepid.
Yeah. And Conniff had a really good prediction on this. He said that he thinks it's going to replace human VO human voiceover at every level of production, except for the biggest budget ones that are going to be filled by like name actors. I don't think he's wrong. I think that this one is going to be, I think this is just going to obliterate the voice actor industry, because you think of all of those NPCs, right? For every main character, you have 10 NPCs, and those NPCs have got 10 lines or whatever, because those are the lines that they gave them. Well, if you had AI do it, you could give them 40 lines. You know, it depends on how much space you want to allocate for it, because you're not paying anybody for this thing.
Right.
You're just going to churn out NPC stuff all the time, and then you save your big voice actors for the main characters.
I
and
have
you
a lot of
couple
rats
people.
in my basement. Will you please kill the rats in my basement?
Please kill 10 rats in my basement and bring me a bag of 10 rats. That's what I need for you to get this small token of silver.
I will trade you rat pelts for these 5 bits.
Oh man, gosh, it's crazy when you go back to old, very very old MMOs and you do the quest line, and it's so much of that. I have rats in my basement. Please go take care of them.
That was the classic like first RPG, Dungeons and Dragons type RPG tabletop game quest, right? You're sitting in the tavern.
Yeah.
You meet your party in the tavern. You go to ask the bartender, any scuttlebutt about? No, but I have rats in my basement. You go down into the basement. You're killing rats for the bartender, and you discover a cave.
I thought you were going to say a really big rat.
It was either cave or rat for me.
I found your problem, sir.
Right. This
You got a
4-foot rat.
Oh man. Actually, that was a quest in Oblivion. I'll never forget that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember that quest. You go down to the basement, and there's like a mother rat down there.
Yep.
There's like the fighter line or something like that. Yeah. Oh.
Harold says, and you make a mental note to report the bar to the health department.
So maybe we need a different tavern, guys. Where else in town can we go? Because this one is burnt for me.
Gosh, it's funny.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. You know, and I know that we're going to wrap this up here, and we really appreciate everyone sticking around for this. We're so early in the process of figuring out how LoreForged is going to work that some of these technical difficulties and stuff, we hate it just as much as you. Probably infinitely more, because we're sitting here trying to do it. And poor JB, you know, he doesn't have any hair, but whatever's left is just falling on his desk. But it's a time that's very special to us, because we're able to look at these things and say, you know, we're far enough into it that some of the things are going to be concrete. You know, these classes and the way that they're having the 8 classes with the supplementary secondary classes that are super cool. By the way, the names on these, I ran into one that is my new favorite. Check this one out. It is Bard Tank. And it is called a siren.
Ooh,
think about that.
I would think
Bard
it would be called,
Tank.
I would think it'd be called a barbarian.
Solid. Think about the sirens in Greek mythology, right? They're calling you in. This is a Bard Tank.
Yeah.
So you're calling in the enemy to come to you.
Attack me.
Freaking clever is that?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's super cool, right?
Yeah.
There's just like you look through this list, and there's 64 of them, and there's just some super fun things in there. And so to be able to say, instead of being like, well, I'm a fighter cleric, you know, you can say that you're a high sword, and that's cool, right? To be able to have that kind of thing, to have the name on that class, I think that's one of my favorite things. Just pulling that out today. But man, I saw Siren, I was like, holy cow! Somebody is paying attention when they're writing the lore on this kind of thing. So that was really cool.
I love it. I actually really enjoyed that that little bit of trivia we were doing with that. We should do that on one of our podcasts and just let fly. One of us takes the
maybe do that as a
reins.
Patreon special or something.
You guys are going to be all studying up.
No, I won't.
You're going to have a cheat sheet on your arm like an NFL quarterback. You just pull the little Velcro out.
Yeah.
No, that's boring. That's boring. We just got to let fly and just wait. Don't study the chart.
D27 left fly. All right, break.
Well, the other part of it that's fun too is thinking about how that plays, right? How that character plays. Like, what does that character do, right?
Yeah. What is their comp like?
The bard tank, has got, I don't know, what has he got? Like a lute and a shield, right?
Maybe shield the loot.
What is he doing? Does he just put strings on the outside of a weirdly bowed shield and he's just playing?
Playing a C chord.
You
Come to
imagine
me.
every time you taunt him, you're like,
the enemy is he the Pied Piper in like a full set of mail with just like a little fife? He's just playing, inviting you in.
Oh man, that's good. Well, everyone who's been hanging out with us, thanks again for hanging out with us today. We really appreciate it. Thanks for being patient through all the technical difficulties. But there's a couple things. One, if you want to see more AshesOfCreation content, go visit LoreForged.com. You'll find everything there, all the website articles, podcast, the post for the podcast. And if you just want to listen to the podcast itself, you can go to any podcast provider, Spotify, iTunes, just name a couple. It's wherever podcasts are available. We should be there. Our feed should. Of course, there's a ton of YouTube content. And I can honestly say months and months and months of YouTube content in the hopper, just waiting to be pushed, waiting for the big green button to be pushed. So
I want to push it all out right now, but then I'd have a whole lot more work to do again.
Yeah. But then you'd be telling me I need months and months of content from you guys.
Yeah, no kidding. And more importantly, if you want to continue the conversation, you want to come join us, you absolutely can. The Discord server is open. It's not just for a LoreForged community, it's for fans truly of Ashes of Creation. You can come be a part. If you have a guild that you're a part of, a community, you can promote it on there. Just come be a part. We'd love to meet you. And thank you, everyone, for hanging out tonight or this afternoon. So, gentlemen, do you have any final closing thoughts?
Peace, love, and honeybees.
Oh, all I can think of right now is I'm glued to this chair right now. I don't think my legs are going to function enough to get me out of this. I'm just going to wheel it and drop it down the stairs and see what happens at the bottom.
Have you thought about getting an ice bath for right after your runs?
No,
I
have a hot tub.
You should.
That's
it's insane for muscle recovery.
Well, I'm going to need like mental recovery from the beating that I took on the last couple miles of whether or not I should continue doing this.
Yep. Yeah.
It'll be a lot more fun when I can come back and play a game like Ashes of Creation and an MMO and just like zone out for a while.
Fall asleep at the keyboard.
I
don't recommend playing a sandbox MMO and falling asleep at the keyboard.
Somebody will find you.
Yeah.
No, I'm very excited for this time. I'm very excited to be able to really take part in this content and to be able to more or less journal our path to the launch of this game. And who knows when that will be. We know that we're getting close to Alpha 2. Because they stopped taking the pre-orders on it, and they're not going to do that if they don't have a plan on when they're going to do it. They're not going to tell us what the plan is, but it's coming, man. So we're getting real close. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. So I'm just having a blast. I'm writing, and we're recording, and we're doing it all, and we're on Twitch, and just having a good time.
Yeah, it's having fun.
Yep. It's been a lot of preparation for it, and I think that we're all in that excitement mode, that magical time before games launch, and it's gonna do nothing but get better in the coming months and probably 2 years. Like that's my guess.
Yeah,
the game will be launched in 2 years.
Right.
So be a pretty fun journey on the way.
Agreed. Everybody, thanks so much for hanging out. We appreciate you. Good afternoon. on the flip flop.
Hey,
Peace,
Trap.
love, and honeybees.